welcome to Unpolished Stories, our look at speaking beyond the spotlight. With me today is Chantel. My name is Selena, and it has been a pleasure to lead these conversations on behalf of Virtual Speakers Association International. And each of these conversations that we have selected and offered you really aim to speak at what happens beyond the spotlight, beyond the audiences, the microphone, the prep, and what kind of lasting impact can it have for the people that we spend time with. So Chantel, good to be back with you for this episode. And
So
what do you
excited.
think about that, right? What do you think about just this beyond the spotlight, that legacy piece, the quiet part of this, right? It's not the glitz and the glamour, but the impact.
Well, Selena, as you know, this is why I invited Subheer to be on our show. And I think if we look at the timing for this episode, I know it's only going to come out in January, but we're recording this just before Christmas. Christmas is all about legacy and hope, and it's about going within, right? And I met this gentle months ago, and this man is the epitome of going within, creating that legacy. So I'm just really excited to bring this show as a year end, and I think we have got an amazing, amazing guest. I'm so looking forward to our conversation today.
We hope that, part of our effort in doing this as volunteers, right, is, hey, it's been pretty good for us too, right? We get to have some really neat conversations with amazing people that we've been interviewing. And yet for everybody else watching this episode, what we hope you'll do with this is just take a renewed sense of hope, right? And vision and learning with you, because that's what we're all trying to do, is help each other out and learn some things along the way. So let's not hold this up anymore, Chantel. What do you think, right? You and I can banter all day long, but I think we've got a great opportunity here to just learn, all right, today together.
Amazing.
So you want to start us off?
Absolutely. Let me introduce you to Subheer. So Subheer is a powerhouse in leadership and strategic management. He's a sought-after speaker and consultant. Subheer has coached senior leaders, advised top 100 companies, and delivered over 300 keynotes and workshops worldwide. As Director of Academic Affairs at Whitefield Business School, he blends academic expertise with real-world insights. Subheer has shared stages with icons like Robin Sharma and worked with giants like Dr. Kevin Gaskell, former CEO of BMW. His book, The Guru and His CEO, has influenced leaders globally, and his unique delivery style continues to inspire and empower audiences everywhere. And I just have to say, Subheer, I know I'm still halfway through your book, but it is amazing. Get yourself a copy. I think we're going to have to post a link in the chat below, right?
Yes.
Subheer, welcome to the show. So glad to have you with us.
Thank you, Chantel, and hi, Selena. Thank you for having me on your show. And I'm really happy and keen and looking forward to this, I'm sure, which is going to be a wonderful conversation with you both. And hello to everyone watching us on this podcast.
Amazing. Selena, what is your first question for Subheer today?
Sure.
Or do you want me to kick it off?
Either way, I can do that. So I would love to know, can you take us back to the moment where you realized, and maybe it was a push or a pull, that you wanted to be on stage, right, to share with others and speak? Was it a planned decision, or was it one that you found yourself a part of and it stayed?
Thank you for this nice question, and it got me going back into a reflection, this question. So for me, it didn't happen like I woke up and I said, I want to be a speaker tomorrow morning. It didn't happen like this for me. It has been a different story, a different journey probably for me. So I started to shift my lifestyle and live a new way of life. And over the years, I've seen improvement in my life, in myself, in things that I do, in every aspect of my life. And at the end of the day, I was also a happier human being. And then after 10 years, 15 years, 20 years of investing myself in this lifestyle, in this way of living, I gradually start to realize that some people have a very different track. They're going on a different track in life, and that's not leading to happiness. And the more I looked at it, the more I realized that there are more and more people taking that track, because just every human being is just going somewhere, but they don't know where they're just going, following the herd, and probably not happy. You see the amount of stress and the amount of anxiety going on in the world. And the more I worked on myself, I was really happy. But at the same time, I felt that a growing urge within myself that, I have to share what I'm living. I'm so happy and I'm not sharing that. And then I came across a story. So there was a disciple. His master gave him the secret formula to be the most powerful person in the world, and to have great powers. And he said, you will not be able to use that if you share it with others. And then the next moment he was on top of a hill and he shouted the secret formula. And the master came to him and said, what have you done? I told you not to share that with everybody. And he told him also, what's the use of knowing such powerful secrets and keeping it to yourself? And that was the trigger kind of for me. And I said, yeah, if you know something and you're not sharing it, it's not good. So the more I worked on myself, the more I felt, the urge to go out and share it to the world. And then the universe, I think, listens to you. And people started to come and say, I think there's something that, you can share to the world. And I started to get some invitation to speak to small talks and medium talks and bigger talks. So it has been a gradual journey, and I think it's been something very natural for me. That's how it started for me, and that's how it's been going on for me.
And you know what? You have just kicked off with planting that legacy, and I love it. So many of our speakers speak about the strategic concepts, and there's nothing wrong with the strategic concepts. We need the strategic concepts, but it starts with how we view ourselves. It starts with that inner journey. So my next question for you, and I think you've just opened the door beautifully for this. When the lights dim and the applause fades, what is the thing that keeps you grounded? And how do you measure success in your work and your life?
That's a beautiful question. Last time the light dipped was last night. We had a event, and lots of cameras, lots of pictures going on, selfies, and that's a very beautiful. How do you manage that? There are two ways I think you can manage that. First, the answer lies in the question itself, Chantel, is when the light dims and the noise fade, you mean it's outside, but where does it continue? It's here. That's where you keep the light shining, you keep the spotlight on yourself, because for some reason, right? So it's here. You just need to shut off the lights here, the spotlights and the noise and all the praise that you get. You just need to shut it off here. So I have a morning routine which connects me to my real self. And I make sure that every morning I start at point zero again. I connect to my real self. So just calming the mind, taking off all the noise, because outside there's no noise anymore. Why should I continue it in my head? You can just calm yourself down, and that helps you to stay really grounded, because it's over. You remember the lesson learned. If there's something not so well, that didn't go well, remember that. Other than that, you need just to calm down because you're as good as your next event on stage, right? Don't get too carried away. And second thing I can tell you that keeps you grounded is your family, and people who know you very well. You come back, spotlight, lots of things you sign, you take selfies, and you come back home. And then, my home minister will tell me, hey, you didn't wash the dishes or you didn't take the bin out. So it's just a powerful reminder to come back and stay grounded. And that happens to everybody. You see, many people see us on stage, but we have a life where we need to look after our kids and our kids, and we do the same thing when we're back home as other human being does. And I think that's how it keeps you grounded in a funny but in a true and sincere way. That's how it is for me.
Okay.
Huh. Building on that, I was thinking about those that you have shared a stage with, and just the honor I can imagine with those you've spent time with and learned next to and shared your insights next to them. Chantal had mentioned, those legends of Robin Sharma and Dr. Kevin Gaskell. What's one lesson or perspective that you've carried away from those experiences? What did that do for you to stand next to others and share together?
Yeah, so I'm very grateful to have been able to share the stage with these great icons. And when you rub shoulders with these giants, you definitely learn something. Yeah? These have been amazing experience, and there are many lessons I can share with you. What I remember about Kevin is his humility. He's so down to earth as a human being. And also his attention to details. I'll tell you one thing. So we had an event. So he will come like 2 hours before and ensure that everything is like perfect. Everything is perfect. He will test the mic. Usually people test the mic on stage if it's fine, but he has his mic wired and he walks around the room. He goes near the speaker and check this and check that. So far, so good. I wasn't that surprised because that's how you do some people do their check. But then he stood it was in a hotel, and he stood on the stage. So there were a lot of tables, right? And there were water bottles that the hotel provided for all the participants. And he looked at it and said, I think there's something not so good here. You see, Subir, the bottles are not perfectly lined. They were not aligned perfectly, not in a straight line when you look at them. So there was Kevin, myself, and one more partner of mine. So he said, no, we have to get it straight. We have to get it in order. So we lined up all the bottles so that when people enter the room, it's the perfect setting. And then he said, at BMW, to provide that comfort, if we needed to redesign the vehicle or to put a rear view mirror, which is slightly bigger or smaller, so that there's no, discomfort for the passenger, we used to do that. If we need to lighten something to make it the perfect drive, and what we were aiming at is you put water in a bottle, you switch on the engine, and there's no ripples in the water. That's what we aim at. That's perfection. And that attention to detail is what makes them great leaders. And they do it for every aspect, even things that you won't even think of. They have an eye for these kind of details. That's what I remember first thing from Kevin. And Kevin, if you're watching, hello. And yeah, so about Robin, I mean, he's a legend from this industry, an icon, living icon in the industry, and you get to learn so much from these giants, and I'm grateful. He's also a personal friend of mine as well. What I remember from him is great legend have great performances because of what they do before they come on stage. What I've learned from him is his routine, his way of blocking the noise, on focusing on his craft before the talk begins. How he shields himself so that he's in the best possible peak state. His entire focus is on his talk, and he wouldn't speak to anyone. He wouldn't get in touch with people. He wouldn't answer his phone. And I'm not telling you for an hour, maybe for, from the previous night, he started to shield himself so that he has his entire energy focus, and he's in the best possible state to deliver on stage. So it's what you do before you go on stage that determines your performance on stage. And one line that I remember from him is he always used to say, Subir, when you go on stage, you need to be massively over-prepared. Massively over-prepared. And that's one of the mantra that I follow as well. It's like, if you have a half an hour keynote, 1 hour keynote, you need to be massively over-prepared. Not just on your topic, but even around your topic.
Subir, what I find so interesting, and it's come up time and again in this conversation, is you keep speaking about this routine. You keep speaking about going within. You keep speaking about preparing yourself. And I think in the speaking as well as in the leadership industries, I think there is so much focus on the performance, the preparedness, the words we're going to say, the tech, the audience, the mechanics of the talk. And I'm loving that we're actually going to the stuff that I'm most passionate about. It's the inner you, and that's how you show up, right? Which leads me to legacy. What is the legacy you want to leave in the speaking and leadership industries?
I don't know if it's a legacy I want to leave, but while I'm alive, it's very simple. I can tell you in one line. I want to leave the world a better place than I found it, as simple as that. And I want to do that by the talks, the workshop, the books that I write, and through education. So I just want to, when I meet you, I just want to leave you on a positive note, slightly in a better shape that I found you. So I want the people who watching this podcast, get away from when they leave this podcast, they're slightly in a better state than they started to listening that. And these little small wins, I hope, accumulate to something else. At the same time, I have a philosophy that I just want to give without expecting a lot in return. So my focus is more on giving and giving and giving and loving and sharing as much as I can. And I think I don't think about the result that much. But I know if you plant a fruit tree, the fruit gonna yield at some point, right? That's the law of nature as well. But my focus is not on the fruit, it's growing the tree, giving it what it needs to be given. That's my philosophy.
I would build on that and ask if you can share with us, public speaking often brings out some feedback from other people who would tell you how to grow that tree, right? And so share with us your learning of how you work through feedback and when somebody is critiquing or critical, right, of your perspective or approach. What could the rest of us learn with you?
I haven't had many, to be honest. I haven't had many. It's been very, very rare. especially regarding the talks. Even on my social media handles, I don't get a lot of criticism, hardly any, have to fish for them. But I remember one incident that was like maybe 10 years ago. So I was invited to do a talk by an NGO. They used to do a monthly talk, and that didn't seem to work. But I loved the work they were doing, and they said, please come and do the talk. And there was maybe 100 or 200 people. That was a big room. And so obviously there was a previous speaker, and then now they asked me to come and do the talk for them. So I went there, I did the talk. It was like 30, 40 minutes talk. And at the end of the talk, there were Q&As. So after once it started the Q&A, I saw a man, he picked up his mic and would ask me the question in front of, imagine the scene, I was much younger, had more hairs at that time, and a younger boy, right? And so that was an elderly gentleman. I have loads of respect for him. And he picked up the mic and said, you're such a young boy. I'm not sure you don't even know what you're speaking about. And even your topics, and this is totally irrelevant. I don't want to say the real words. So he was like criticizing me openly in front of everybody, right? And you know what I did that time? I just closed my eyes and I allowed him to finish. And I said, thank you, but there was no question, so I had nothing to say to him. That's all. And then after the event, the organizers came and said, no, we're sorry. I said, no. After a month, they called me back to speak at the same place, the same people. I was a bit, I wouldn't say scared, but apprehensive probably. But I said, because I was a bit scared, I said, no, I have to do it. I did a good job. I know what I spoke of, and this person was a bit negative. Why should I be scared, about anyone's reaction? I will just go and do my job. And it was still freer. So I went there and I did the talk for them. Because I love the people, I went there and did the talk for them. And it was the usual 40 minutes talk. And after the talk, there was Q&A. And the gentleman picked up the mic again. And this time, you know what he said? You all should learn from this young boy. Look at the knowledge that he has. Look at his delivery. Look at this. He was all praises. And you know what I did? I just closed my eyes. I waited for him to finish. And I said, thank you. Any question? I had nothing to tell him. Because he doesn't define who I am. He doesn't define how I'm going to feel. If it was a constructive criticism, he has my full attention. If not, if it's not true to me, why should I allow it to bother me? It's like you give the remote control of your feeling in someone else's hand, and I don't want to do that. Secondly, if it's positive, thank him, I'll look for that, and I'll improve. And that's how I deal with feedback. It's nothing more, nothing less. And it's got a lot to do with being emotionally intelligent. So I also look at it as a way to practice what you call mental equanimity. In praise and blame, how do you stay calm? So in these moments, you get to at least try to put into practice what you speak and tell others to do. It's my test time, right? And on stage, it's even more difficult to manage that. But I also have to admit that on sometimes, you get carried away with your emotions, because I'm a human being too. But that's how I try to.
Yeah.
I try to be more to pass these tests more than fail, but I do fail at a few times as well.
Subheer, I think that is such a powerful way to kind of sum up both this episode, but also the journey that Selena and I have walked on this podcast. We started this podcast by saying that we want to impart the message that we are humans first and speakers second. And you have just
Exactly.
encapsulated and demonstrated exactly how we do that. Powerful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move into the lightning round. These are the short, sharp, final questions that we ask our guests. So if I had to ask you, what is one question that you wish I'd asked but haven't, what would that question be and how would you answer it?
And I haven't thought about it. Let me think about it. Probably might be my inspiration. Where do I get the inspiration from? Or why do we do the work we do? Are we happy to do the work we do? These kind of things, or what motivates you, or things like that, probably. But I think we covered that in the first one as well. No, I don't have an idea. I leave that to you.
I'm going to say, where's your inspiration? Where do you get your inspiration from?
Yeah, that's a beautiful question. My answer would be, Chantel, what is it that doesn't inspire you? If you look at the world through the lens of inspiration, you would find inspiration everywhere. I remember I went to a school once, and there was a little leaf. I don't know the name of the leaf. You touch it and it closes. After some time, it opens up again. And that inspired me, and I wrote a chapter about that leaf in my book. I said it's like your heart. When it feels threatened, it closes down. But then you cannot live with your heart closed all through your life. And some people feel threatened despite the threat is no longer there. And also, nature inspires you. I meet people, there's so many stories that inspires you. I go for a walk in the forest, that inspires me. My kid, my dog, I tell you what, I'm just back. That's such a sweet story because he has a special place in my heart. And he was sad because I had to leave him somewhere else. And I was sad because I couldn't speak to him, tell him, he doesn't understand that, okay, I'm leaving you there and not at home because we all have to travel, the whole family, and they will take care of you, but we will come back in a few days. He think we've abandoned him probably because it was the first time. I felt very happy to go with the family, but part of my heart stayed there with this cute little puppy. And probably if you do that to a human being, they will feel really bad when you come back. But the dog, he forgets the past, embraces the present. Once you're back, he just jumps on you. He's so happy, so full of love when he sees you. He wouldn't like blame you or have grudge. He doesn't hold grudge about the past. He's fully present in the present. That inspires me. There's inspiration everywhere if you look through the lens of inspiration. And that
And
was
if you
lost.
look for it,
If you look for it, right, we will find it.
What you focus on, you would find.
Yep.
Yeah.
okay, absolutely. Selena, do you want to hit the last lightning round question?
Sure. Where'd it go? What's our last lightning round question? Here we go. I didn't have it up in front of me. There we go. What is it? Chantel. I don't know
If
where.
I could
there
give,
it
shall I do it?
There it is.
If you could give one piece of advice to your earlier speaker self, that young boy, what would it be?
What would it be?
Wow, that's such a powerful question. Is believe in yourself more.
Mhm.
That's all. See, confidence grows when you see yourself doing things, when you get more and more evidence that, yeah, you can do it. That's how you build confidence. That's how you build trust in yourself as well, in others. I trust you because I see a certain pattern of behavior that you do over time. Then there's trust that builds between us. It's the same for yourself. You get evidence. You're doing one good talk, two good talk, three good talk, 10 good talks, 100 good talks, and that builds your self-confidence. That's how it works usually for many people. But if I could have that same self-confidence much earlier, probably I would have been even more ahead in my journey, and probably a bit more working on myself, being more disciplined. Because the more you improve on your self-discipline, the more you move forward in your personal growth. Because when you're younger, you don't have the same kind of self-discipline. And final thing would be my have been sweeter, kinder, and more loving to people. Because when you're young, you do say a few words which hurt people, but that's youth. And probably I would seize that to say sorry to all these beautiful people whom I might have said something which might hurt you, but that was my younger self. And we all do a bit of nonsense in our lives. So yeah, the advice to me would have been, be sweeter to people, yeah, and more loving. That's it, probably. And thank you for this beautiful question. You really provoked me to look within and look for these deep answers. And I love to talk to you. Thank you for that.
It's such a pleasure. It's been so good listening to your answers. I could extend this, but I think we've got the gold. And I'm just hearing so much about that inner journey. Selena, what have been your takeaways?
Yeah, that inner journey, that calm, right? And to your point, right? We're not supposed to be the same person. My speaker self at 22 is not the same speaker self at 54, right? Not supposed to be the same. And I'm not supposed to be the same person. So great reinforcements on that, on this journey, on the learning, and how we support each other along the way, recognizing, right, that we just continue to learn if we choose to, and that perspective of when we look for it, right, we find it. Yeah. Chantal, what about you?
You know me, I always look for a theme of our
You're so good
podcasts.
at it. Yes.
And there's so many.
Yes.
What do I choose? I think I'm going to go with we over prepare externally, but we under prepare internally. And this is a call to action to all of our audience, to all of our listeners, to over prepare internally as much as we prepare externally. I think
Great.
that's been the kernel for me.
Great things. Thank you so much for your time and offerings to this episode, and to all of our listeners and watchers. This is coming out in multiple platforms. You'll be able to check it out on podcast platforms. If you have a favorite podcast platform that we are not on, please drop us a note. We'll happily add it to our distribution. For those of you watching the video, and check out the show notes. We're going to be putting some links in there as well, including the book. So please stay tuned with us. We will have more episodes coming out. If you have suggestions or recommendations for themes, topics, and speakers that we should be taking a look at, please let us know. To everyone from Untold Stories, speaking beyond the spotlight from this part of our work, all the best to you. Thank you very much, and stay tuned.